So I'm Travis Chaffen, owner of Gameday Men's Health here in Greenville. I also own location in Spartanburg, and we are going to open another one in Anderson, 2 more in Greenville, and are currently in talks to purchase 6 more, which I can't disclose right now. But I came to Gameday. Well, I guess the easiest way to tell the story is about 4 years ago, I got on testosterone. Before that, I was pretty much a wreck. I was 230 pounds. I'm now about 190. But I was 230 pounds, no energy, no sex drive. But the big thing was I had developed pretty severe depression, which I had never had. I was diagnosed with PTSD after the Marines, but never had depressive episodes. And this depression was severe enough that, I was considering some pretty dark things. And so I went to a VA psychiatrist. He asked me if I'd had my testosterone checked, and which was, if you know the VA, is very surprising that they would ever recommend that. But he asked me, and I hadn't, so I had it checked at the VA. Unfortunately, the VA requires a very low threshold. But everything I read online said I was low. So went to a private clinic, signed up that day, and I went back home, told my wife that, I signed up, but also that's an amazing business. I wish we could do that, but neither her nor I are physicians, had, no idea how to set something like that up. About 3 months later on Biz Buy Sell, where you can buy and sell businesses privately owned, there was an ad for Gameday Men's Health, a franchise that was starting up, and it just seemed like, kind of karma, or fate, that I was really interested in it. The change in me, the depression and all those other things I named were gone. Gone after 6 weeks. And I truly believe, that testosterone saved my life, especially at that time. So we decided to go for it. We were originally looking for clinics in Atlanta. That's where we're from. And they were all bought. They essentially, when they became available to buy, they were bought up in, minutes. And one place Alicia, my wife, and I had talked about living was Greenville. So we thought, well, let's see if the Greenville market's open. And lo and behold, the entire market was open. So we jumped on it. We bought, they had 4 locations for the entire city of Greenville. We bought that entire market. I came up here, and for the first year that our first clinic was open, I actually lived in my camper, and, that was not fun. But I would go down to Atlanta on the weekends, and finally, when it was obvious that the business was going to be successful, convinced my wife, I didn't have to convince her too hard, but that we needed to move up here, and got a house in Hartwell. We love it. Much prefer this to Atlanta. No offense to anybody from Atlanta listening, but it's just a much easier way to live. And so, Gameday really just has changed our life pretty dramatically, and has definitely put me in a place that I didn't expect to be. I think I told you I was working on my PhD at the time, and my plan was to obtain my PhD, probably work for one of the 3-letter agencies in the U.S. and do some kind of statistical analysis of crime, something like that. The PhD would have been in criminology, and this has enveloped our lives so much that my PhD is now on hold. I just have my dissertation left, so maybe that'll happen, maybe it won't. I don't think I'm going to be working in criminology either way, but I definitely like to finish things, so we'll see if that happens.
That's amazing. So what were you, you're doing this PhD and stuff, but like what were you doing for work? What were you doing for a career before Gameday or the PhD? Like, how did you kind of make it in the world before all of this stuff happened?
I won't go through my entire weird job history, but I worked in plants for a number of years, about a decade, and then ended up through friends. I ended up becoming a certified addiction counselor in Atlanta, and enjoyed that so much. I was working with veterans in particular, and enjoyed that so much that I went to college. I didn't go back to college. I never started college until I was 45, but went back to become a licensed professional counselor. Ended up the master's program of criminal justice. Wanted me I could start my master's courses at the my senior year of my undergrad if I would agree to go to criminal justice. I did. So got my master's got my undergrad in psychology, my master's in criminal justice. And during those years in my master's, I was told you need to go PhD. And so I did. And by chance had this guy named Dr. William Sable take me under his wing. He is essentially internationally known. Obama appointed him as head of BJS, which is one of the 3-letter organizations, and he gave me a fellowship. So my school was paid for, and he paid me a salary. And then I also, because of my VA disability, was receiving that. My wife, that would not have been enough, but my wife has been successful enough in her career as a CFO, CPA. She's a CFO of a company called LSGF, and she was successful enough that I didn't really have to worry too much about money while I was doing it.
Right.
But it did feel good to collect a paycheck and not completely rely on my wife. So, and now, Gameday is doing well enough that it supports me.
It's growing.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
incredible.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. So you and I met through Brits Brothers Gym.
Yes.
So I had seen one of your locations and I was like, I should just go talk to them. And here I find out that you had been trying to work with Brits Brothers before, and it just worked out perfect timing, and you've been able to come and get involved in our community, which is really great. So tell me a little bit more about the kind of the community aspect that you're starting to build here in Greenville with Gameday as well.
Yeah. I think I know we've talked about this before, and one thing that Alicia and I really wanted to make sure we focused on when we open these clinics is the community. We wanted to ingratiate ourselves as much as possible with the community because it was an opportunity that we didn't necessarily have in Atlanta. So we immediately started reaching out to different businesses and events and started connecting with people. One of the things that Alicia and I are most proud of is, we came to Greenville knowing no one. And at the grand opening of our first clinic on Holt Road, we had over 75 people attend. And these are people we knew. All of a sudden we have these friends that we didn't have before. But most importantly, we recognize that there's a lot of businesses and organizations that are doing good things, and the owners or organizers are just top-notch people, and that's who we want to connect with. I love that saying, "The rising tide lifts all boats," and that's really my philosophy on connecting with community and businesses. Is that we can all be successful. We'll be even more successful if we're doing it together.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And I think that Brits Brothers takes a very similar approach because it's such a community oriented space. There's so many different people there. All are so supportive towards the goals of others. And I think that's the trademark of good sportsmanship, but I think it's also a really excellent way to operate a business.
Absolutely.
And it pays dividends.
It does.
Without a doubt. But I want to talk a little bit more about kind of the core offerings of Gameday. So Gameday is a men's health clinic.
Yes.
You talked a little bit more about how you had started Testosterone and that had such a huge impact on you.
Yep.
But what does Gameday really offer to Greenville and why?
Yeah. So we started out with what they called the Core 4, and the Core 4 is that we offer testosterone optimization, and I don't necessarily say replacement because our goal is to optimize, make your testosterone level the best it can be and be medically appropriate. We do another one, the Core 4 is erectile dysfunction treatments. So, sexual health issues, we deal with those. Something I know you love, vitamins, peptides. Our business in peptides has skyrocketed. They're becoming much more mainstream. People are hearing a lot about them. And as I was saying earlier, my clinician, Carly Bright, has become a peptide expert. And so that helps because there's so many out there, and knowing what's appropriate and what isn't is key. And then the last thing is weight loss. The semaglutides, tirzepatide, we offer those. We are now we've actually added hair loss to our treatments. We do that with it's called PRP, platelet-rich plasma. So essentially injections into the scalp to help stimulate growth, repair cells, all the good stuff. But, I think the biggest thing about us that a lot of people don't know is that everyone's consultation with us is free. You don't pay a dime. There's no strings attached. There's absolutely no reason not to come in. You come in, we draw your blood, we run it through our lab in the clinic, get your total testosterone, and then you sit down with our clinician and do a consultation. There's no sales push. There's, nothing. We're not trying to convince you to join. We're going to give you our recommendation. If you sign up, great. If not, you walk out the door, at least knowing where you stand on that part of your health.
Yeah.
And so I've said that to a number of people, and I'm honestly amazed sometimes at how few come in.
Yeah.
From that, just to know that, hey, you can walk in the door and get that free.
Yeah. A free testosterone test is really crazy because that's one of the things that is sometimes prohibitive of people getting testosterone replacement therapy is like upkeeping of blood work or all that kind of stuff. Yep. Or, for someone to get a blood test, kind of like you described earlier with a VA or something, like if you go to your primary care physician and you say, hey, I want to check my hormones, there's a good chance they're just not going to listen to you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why we exist.
Yeah.
Yeah. Truly.
Truly. And there's not a good support. And then there has been, some other clinicians, or there has been other clinics that do this, but it's very profit oriented, very cookie cutter. Yep. I've had negative experiences with other, clinics in the area. Mm-hmm. So I started testosterone when I was 23 because I was having a bunch of symptoms that was not appropriate for a guy my age.
Right.
And I went and I had my levels checked, and my levels weren't incredibly low. There was probably some stuff that we could have done lifestyle wise, but the clinic I went to was yeah, you're good. And they put a needle in me that day, and I don't regret that choice. It's been it did help. I've had an incredible experience on testosterone. It's completely changed every aspect of my life for the better. Yep. But it was crazy to be oh, I just give you money and you're rubber stamp, just next.
Yep.
And then when I wasn't happy with some of my aspects of my care, and when I felt like the things they were pushing on me weren't the right choice for me, they threatened to fire me from the clinic.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, you don't have to do that. I'm just not going to come to you anymore. Absolutely. And it's crazy to see how people are treated just with medical stuff in general, but especially hormone health.
Yeah.
There's such a lack of knowledge on hormone health. I can remember coming and meeting you guys at Gameday and just seeing the wealth of knowledge and seeing the custom approach and just kind of lack of sales push was a huge green flag for me. And it's great to know that there's someone out there in Greenville who can give a really needed therapy at an appropriate price with fair care, and it's not slimy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And that's essentially, and this goes to what primary care and insurance say is low testosterone, but 40% of guys over 40 qualify for low testosterone. Now that's like I said, that's what a primary care's level is, which is 300. That level used to be 500. 10 years ago, that level was 500.
Yeah.
And then insurance took over and all that good stuff. We can treat guys under 600.
Yeah.
And even if they're at 600, depending on symptoms and free test, their free testosterone, there's still avenues of treatment. I love what you said about, I don't like that you're treated that way, but what you said about being treated that way, really reassures me. Like, what we're doing is right at Gameday. We only schedule one guy every 45 minutes. So that means that time you're there is dedicated to you. All treatment plans are individualized. We don't rubber stamp anybody. The clinician's going to listen to what your goals are, what your issues are, and try to shape that treatment plan according to that, and what would be medically best for you. When we originally opened, we had a clinician, and great person, but she was of that rubber stamp mentality, and we ended up trading her out, and Carly, who you've met, took over, and
she's wonderful.
Yeah, amazing. And we really believe in, when we say we're white glove concierge service, we want that to carry over in the treatment of all guys.
Yeah,
we want them to know that when they come in, they're the most important thing to us while they're in there, whether or not they buy. Whether they're just coming in, they want a free testosterone test. We don't care. We just want them to. I mean, I think there's a huge. I believe males have suffered a lot in the last few decades, in society and views, and hearing about toxic masculinity and all this shit. I think it's nice to have a place where guys are valued.
Yeah.
And they are with us.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's a big thing. Well, there's always that stereotype of guys going to doctors and how they'll never do it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Unless you're dying,
yep.
You don't go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And so to have a space where it's, private and focused and doesn't feel so clinical, but is clinical in its knowledge.
Yes.
I think is a huge value add.
And we, that was one thing that I really bought into when we found Gameday, was that the creator, his name's Evan Miller, his idea was to make a clinic that took out all those pain points that keep guys from going to the doctors, making sure appointments are under an hour. Now that doesn't mean you won't have as much time as you want with our clinician, but for guys that are working and taking care of family and everything else, we make sure that we respect their time. And I mean, he planned this all the way down to snacks and drinks in the lobby, high def televisions with sports playing on, in every room. So really our goal is when a guy comes in, for them not to feel like it's a clinic.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like you said, the knowledge and expertise is there, but we kind of want to make it enjoyable and fun for them.
Yeah.
So
tell me about some of the hottest peptides that you guys are getting into right now.
For sure. I think it was talked about on Rogan's podcast. And I mean, the number one for sure is, it's called Wolverine Blend. We actually have a pharmacy that markets it under Valkyr Blend, but it's BPC 157 and TB 500. That 100% is the top selling. And I believe, not only because men have heard about it, and we treat women with peptides. Not only have they heard about it, it actually works. It is a noticeable change in using this peptide, and it's used generally for tissue repair and healing, inflammation reduction. It works great on soft tissues, and so we've had a number of guys get it after having surgeries. For us older guys that tend to ache and creak, after a day of just walking around works amazing. And the healing that it stimulates is just unbelievable. I mean, like I said, it is a noticeable difference. We're also selling so we sell peptides that help increase muscle mass and lean muscle mass and reduce fat. So we're seeing a surge in like testosterone, IGF, LR3, CJC, and ipamorelin. Those have really started picking up also. And again, they honestly work. Those are, when I actually started peptides when I was at the private clinic that, I started going to 4 years ago. And I started on IGF and did 4 months of IGF. And although we're on a podcast, I can't show pictures, but like I was definitely built.
Yeah.
I hate it now. I got to get back into it. I got to get the Brits Brothers. I keep telling Ollie I'm going to come in. I keep getting too busy, but I need to do it. But so those work amazingly well too. I think the big difference with those that sometimes where people fail is that those also require work.
Yeah.
Like you're not going to get lean muscle from just taking it.
No.
You have to work out.
They also take a decent bit of time.
Yes. And you're perfect. A great point. Yeah. They kind of like testosterone need to build up in your system to be completely effective.
Yeah.
And so there is a time element to it, but the results are amazing. I love anything. I love anything that's going to not only build muscle but reduce fat too.
Yeah.
Because you can have both at the same time, and work out all you want. And we see that a lot with guys. That's one of the reasons guys come in for testosterone. Same kind of thing. They're working out. Their workouts aren't as effective. They're not seeing the same gains, and they're developing some little rubber tire around the waist. And so yeah, I love those. We also, we have, not only do we have those, but we have peptides like NAD, which are increase brain health and memory and focus. It's kind of like I guess non-harmful Adderall, you could say. That works pretty amazingly well. I've tried NAD. And then, of course, we offer semaglutide and tirzepatide. You hear, what is it, Wegovy and all that. Essentially, semaglutide and tirzepatide. We offer those. They are peptides. Mm-hmm. People tend to, for some reason, kind of put those in their own category, but they are peptides.
They are, definitely. I think they're just because they have a bit of a different function.
Yes.
There's a lot of times when people think about peptides, they think about BPC or they think about the GH stuff.
Yep.
So when it's like a fat loss thing, it feels different than the GH stuff.
Because how many fat loss drugs have there been? There have been a ton before.
There's a lot.
And the cool thing about, for anybody out there that doesn't know about peptides, they're essentially strings of amino acids that signal the body to do its natural functions just at an accelerated rate.
Yeah.
So you're not putting some kind of crazy chemical into your body or anything that's foreign. It is literally proteins that you're putting into your body.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any particular moments or like things, maybe even like early on in your journey, where you had experiences or feedback from your clients and you're just like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I get choked up sometimes talking about this because truly it's like what I hoped to do when we bought Gameday. And everything from, it feels like family. We get that comment a lot. We have for each clinic, we have a couple hundred 5-star reviews. I believe all except one are all 5-star reviews. And that's a big comment in those 5-star reviews. It felt like family, felt like home. I was, very comfortable. And then the other one is just that guys talk a lot about like how much we care, especially for guys that have gone to other clinics where they just feel like they're kind of just cycling through and their money is more important than their health is with some of these places. And guys don't feel that with us, you know?
Yeah.
I've had a number of guys that I monitor our client referral line. So we have you can sign up with with our clinics through, we call it the CRM, but you can sign up through the clinics. It's a way that we can connect with you on email or text, but I monitor that thing pretty much if I'm awake. And, I've had a number of times where, a guy will make a comment and, about something he needs at the clinic, and I'll just reach out to him. Hey, how are you doing? And then they'll just, without provocation, will tell me how much like our clinics mean to them, and like how much they've changed and how much better their life is. Like, I love hearing guys that, like, when they came in, they were maybe at their lowest point, or at a very low point in their health, but also just their marriage, their sex life, their self-view. And, a couple months later, all that's changed, and they're just so appreciative. I was talking to one of the guys here earlier. He asked, about testosterone, that you have to be on it for life. And I love it when guys ask me that, because it kind of gives me a little moment to give a little education. But starting testosterone, you do not have to stay on it for life. You can come off it. Guys do. The issue is that if you have low testosterone, or let's say you have below 600 where we can treat you, your body will never on its own get you higher. Mm-hmm. Now, you can change some things in your diet, you can take some supplements, things like that will help increase it some, but not to a significant level to where, like we say, we get guys between 600. Well, try to get guys around 1,200 if it's appropriate. You'll never do enough diet or supplements that are going to ever get you to 1,200 if you're 300, 400, even 500. So really, guys are on it for life, because if they come off it, they go back to where they were, or worse, because time has passed. The body has stopped producing even more testosterone. And so really the thing for life is like, well, I want to get back on it, or I want to stay on it because I don't want to feel like shit again. I don't want to feel like that again.
Yeah.
Not because it's going to increase your mortality or anything. I mean, and if guys want to come off it, we typically will give them a titration plan, which we can do. Other guys just come right off it.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's amazing at the number of guys that come off it that 3 months later are back at our door saying, forget it, I want to do this.
Well, it's funny when people always bring that up, like they think about how like they perceive testosterone as maybe dangerous or something like that. Yeah. And someone was like, well, you started TRT so young, like, don't you think you're going to die sooner or something? It was like, well, I'd probably die sooner if my testosterone score was 400 100%. Than if it was 1,200.
Yes. Dude, there's been so much research in the last couple of years showing that testosterone is linked to longer lives.
100%.
There was a study, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, and this is like the bane of TRT clinics, is there was a study that said that testosterone could enlarge your heart, so causing cardiovascular issues. That study has been completely debunked. It was crap data. Now all the studies are showing the very opposite: longer lives, better heart health, better overall health, and just quality of living. In fact, when I got on testosterone, I went to my primary care at the VA. and the way I looked at it the time, because I wasn't very educated on it, I was just on testosterone and feeling great. I remember that primary care, she said, well, this is going to affect your heart and you might die sooner. And I told her, I was like, well, I'd rather live shorter and feel this freaking great than I would to live a long life feeling like shit. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the point?
Yeah.
You know? Thankfully, you know,
that's not necessarily the case, but yes.
Thankfully, it's better for my health.
100%.
Yeah.
No, and it's the same thing with like the peptides or like growth hormone and that kind of stuff. People are always worried about like a cancer risk or something weird.
Yes,
and it's like, okay, well, are there like 1 million children or teenagers getting cancer from their high growth hormone? Because especially if you're just doing some kind of HRT with growth hormone, it's as high as it was as when you were a kid, because it falls off over time, just like your normal hormones do. Just it's the first one before all the sex hormones go down when you're later in life. But it's like, if you're just replacing with the peptides, you're just living as good as you were 10 years ago.
Yes.
You're not. It's very strange to see how quickly people work themselves into these holes with very little information.
100%.
You can have such an insane quality of life improvement.
Yep.
Also, like, life's not a drug tested sport, you know? So like, I'm going to take every advantage I can.
100%.
I love it. I feel way more driven for business and life. And
yes. Why? Yeah. Why not? Like, first of all, I love how educated you are, Josiah. I mean, seriously, you know, why wouldn't you want to feel like you did when you were 20?
Yeah.
You know? Or why wouldn't you want to feel the very best that you can and still be safe with your health? You know?
Yeah.
You know, you can damage your health just like with any other thing. If you do it to an excess, you can damage your health. Absolutely. You know, that's why we have, you know, levels that we try to stay within. Now, sometimes we may increase depending on the guy. I mean, it really depends, but why wouldn't you want to do that? You know, and why wouldn't you want to be if you want to be successful in your business, why would you not want to be the sharpest, most motivated, energetic person that you could be in that business?
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you want that also in your relationship?
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, when I say testosterone changed my life, it did, because it wasn't just health. It hit all these different aspects of my life that I hadn't realized, because I'm 53, that over who knows how many years, everything had kind of fallen off.
Yeah.
You know, and testosterone gave it all back to me. You know, and I mean, I know for sure I could not run this business if I wasn't on it. I'm pretty sure I'd just take a quick exit, man.
No, I'm right there with you. I could not handle my life without it.
No.
With the level that we're able to do stuff here. But I will say my only final caveat, just to go back to the point we were talking about before, just about every side effect that you could gain from taking testosterone is a lifestyle issue in disguise.
Absolutely.
I spent a lot of time working for a doctor who specialized in this stuff, and he'd have guys come to him, their blood work's all jacked up, or they're having all these crazy blood pressure issues or whatever, and they're like, oh, it's the testosterone. It's like, well, no, it's because you're not like eating.
Yeah.
You're just eating processed crap, and you don't actually exercise, and you started taking a bunch of testosterone trying to grow muscle when you don't train or lift weights or drink water. Absolutely. There's so much that can, like, the people associate negative with testosterone that is just simply a product of your just garbage lifestyle. Absolutely.
And like what one of the aspects of testosterone that I love is that, you know, before I got on it, like I said, I was like 240 pounds. I just saw a video when I was getting my PhD. That guy, Dr. Sable, had me do this video for some research we were conducting. And I saw this video, I think it was 2 days ago. And I was kind of disgusted with myself. You know? I mean, my face was fat. I mean, like, you know, I was like, God, that's terrible. The cool thing about it is that when you get on testosterone, you start getting the energy to do these things that will, like you said, like you could take testosterone and be fine.
Yeah.
You know, but now you've got this energy again. You've got this kind of vitality again.
Yeah.
So it's real easy to direct that energy into working out, you know, into eating healthier, you know, into, you know, being active. And Yeah, I mean, people do the same thing with the weight loss. Semaglutide, they expect it, I inject it and I just start losing weight. No, you still have to eat a certain amount of protein. You need to adjust your diet. You need to exercise.
Yeah.
And I think those are good things.
Yeah.
I believe if you're going to do this, it's kind of when I started IGF, that the first time I ever tried IGF 4 years ago, I was paying premium dollar for that back then.
It's not cheap stuff.
I think it was around $700. And so I told myself, like, if I'm going to pay this money, I'm going to do something with it.
I was just about to bring up this point, is if you're going to make an investment, you're extra motivated to go to the gym and eat the food when you're coughing up.
Best bang for your buck.
Yeah. Absolutely. Luckily, the IGF stuff is not as insanely expensive anymore.
No. Yes, yeah.
It used to be crazy.
Listening, it is much cheaper.
Yeah. It's not that much money. But it used to be back in the day.
Yes, it was.
Back in the day. Yep. This is such an unrelated thing, but it made me think of it. I'm sure you're aware of who the Liver King is.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so Liver King famously, claimed to be natty, was on a ton of steroids. There was a clinic that was working with him.
No kidding.
And was pumping him full of all this stuff. And they... This dude was spending I don't know, I think it was $10,000 a month or something like that on all these peptides. And he was a bunch of IGF and the CJC and everything. And then you can look at this invoice, this isn't right. They were clearly just ripping this dude off as well.
That's crazy.
Because he was out of his mind and willing to do it.
Yes.
And had the money. But it really is the wild, wild west out there with clinics. So that's why I'm very blessed to have met you and meet Gameday and be able to incorporate you more into our community.
The feeling is mutual.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. The red carpet is rolled out to you. Awesome. Where can they find you? How do they contact you? Yeah. And how can you help them?
Yeah, so right now we have 3 clinics. So we have one on Holton Road, 225 Holton Road, Suite B. We have another clinic in Greenville on 102 West Stone Avenue. We have a 3rd clinic in Spartanburg for you out-of-towners. So 775 Spartan Boulevard. Easiest way to connect with us, to be honest with you, is go on GameDayMen'sHealth.com. There's a clinic locator. It'll give you the closest clinic to where you live, or you can put in your business address. And then you can actually put in an appointment request. So you don't even have to talk to anybody. You can literally put the appointment request in. You'll be contacted by text and to finalize the appointment. After that, we'll be in contact with you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come and chat.
I appreciate it.
It's been great.
It's really, I feel very honored to come in here after the Brits Brothers guys.
Well, they warmed it up for you.
Yes, they did.